Hey guys, welcome to the Pit and Peak episode. 2024 was a big year for us. Starting in February when we had peak number 1 and officially moved back to the US after living in Mexico for most of the last 12 years. This was great as it allowed us to settle full time at the farm that has been in our family for a while and be able to take full advantage of having a landing strip of our own. It also meant I got to do some flying with our dogs. They both like flying, though Chamoy does get more stressed than Coco. Coco just likes to be in anything that moves. They rode up in the moving van and spent 27 hours to get north. After getting a good night's sleep, Coco went out the next morning, jumped back in the van, and was ready to do some more driving. Having been born and raised in Mexico, they had never seen snow before. This caused us a fair amount of stress because we love our dogs and don't want them to be unhappy 4 months a year. But they didn't bat an eye. They love having a lot of land to explore and have been doing so with great enthusiasm. Pit number 1 is that my annual wasn't super clean. The exhaust had vibrated itself to failure and needed to be rebuilt. The double whammy there is that it took a couple weeks during prime flying season to get it back. We also identified a cracked plate that plays a crucial role in managing and directing the airflow around the cylinders. Our A&P was able to fabricate a replacement part using readily available sheet metal. Gotta love experimental airplanes. Peak number 2 was a big one. I took the show on the road and did my first ever talk at Airventure. I really love making these videos for YouTube, but had no idea if that would carry over into a live forum. The two are just so completely different, and I wasn't sure how to get the word out about the talk. Things went better than I expected with a standing room only crowd and people bringing chairs over from other buildings. And everyone was super engaged and asked good questions at the end of the talk. Pit number 2 is that I got a new tent. My canvas bell tent is something like 75 pounds, so I wanted to get something lighter to free up some pounds for fuel. I got this one from REI and it was fine. Wasn't the easiest to set up, but that's okay because I'm willing to trade that for comfort. But even in minor winds, it ended up with some bent poles. Anyway, I'm a big fan of REI and their return policy meant that I could back out of the deal painlessly, so no complaints about that. But I again need a new tent. Peak number 3. I had an idea before Airventure to print out this poster with my logo on it and have fans of the channel and other YouTubers sign it when I ran into them in the wild. I had no idea if people would be interested or I would just end up with a couple signatures in a failed experiment. As you can see, it was super well received and a lot of people signed it. I'm trying to decide whether or not to make this an annual tradition, and when I finally hang up the spurs someday, have these as a personal memory in my workshop. This walk is peak number 4 and the first cooking peak of this video. I'm not sure I remember why I bought it. It might have just been to try something new, but having 65,000 BTUs of energy has made doing Asian cooking in the backwoods a lot of fun. The very first dish I did was a beef broccoli stir fry, which turned out delicious and was also when I discovered how easy it could be to do a nice plating of a dish like this because of how the rice and the deli container work together. Pit number 3. The Ranger fly-in might be my deepest pit for the year. This was my 3rd or 4th visit there, and I always have a fantastic time. Jared and his team of volunteers make it an event that I'm willing to fly 10 hours to attend, and see friends and an amazing display of antique airplanes. This event serves as a fundraiser for the renovation of the airport and draws all kinds of aviation enthusiasts wanting to see both the antique planes and modern planes doing aerobatics routines. Every night we were treated to a Texas-sized sunset and a campfire to tell lies around. However, this year, except for some clips from my iPhone, all the footage disappeared. I'm still not sure what happened with that, but it was a bad pit. Peak number 5. Fans of the channel know that I go to a lot of Recreational Aviation Foundation trips, and one that had been on my list for a long time was Trigger Gap. Located on Nature Conservancy land, this hilltop airstrip has a pilot shelter with a wood-burning fireplace and grills for cooking. Looking at it from the air, I thought the trees looked pretty close to the edges of the runway, but I guess that's some sort of an optical illusion. There's tons of room there, and it looks easier and easier the lower you go. Peak number 6 was this fatty melt idea that I got from Kenji. The basic instruction is that it's a smash burger, but instead of using buns, I used 2 grilled cheese and tomato sandwiches. This lunch probably weighed in at about 2,000 calories, but it was a great way to satisfy my hunger after some hours of flying. Pit number 4 was a flight into the Sky High Orchard. I get over to this place several times a summer and love that the owners value having a grass strip and that they allow us to use it. The reason it's on the pits list is that I wanted to make a video about it for a long time, but really haven't figured out how to tell the story yet. Maybe 2025 will finally be the year to pull that off. Peak number 7 was my trip over to Brodhead to see the Midwest Antique Airplane Club fly-in. I'm a little bummed I wasn't able to make a video about it, but I had no idea what I was walking into. It turned out to be a great fly-in with fun planes and people. I'll definitely be going back and hope to make a video in 2025. Peak number 8 was a first for me. I hosted a fly-in. The Flying Midwest podcast invited me to sit in on one of their episodes this year, and we got to talking about how they wanted to do a fly-in event. A first for them as well. I threw out several suggestions, but every place I wanted to go was a grass strip, and they wanted to be more inclusive since they have a diverse audience. Hearing that, I thought, well, why don't we do it at my base in Lone Rock? So we ended up doing that, and had a great time meeting some new people and eating some great food over the course of the weekend. I even did a backcountry cooking class, where we got the new walkout again and made chicken, beef, and tofu teriyaki for all in attendance. Everyone who wanted to got a chance to prep veggies and proteins and then cook them up in the walk. Pit number 5. Pit number 5 was an exploration. People seem to like that I cook real food. I get comments on it all the time. But the fact is, a lot of people want simple and easy stuff when they camp. So I decided to try to make something easy that anyone could do with ingredients from Walmart and minimal ice in the cooler. The target I picked was a Dutch oven pizza, and it was terrible. The jarred sauce was mediocre, the packaged crust was awful. My lack of experience took a toll also, in that the bottom got burnt before the top was properly cooked. All in all, the only video it was going to be in is this one. Pit number 6 was another one in the simple foods category. I made some scrambled eggs that anyone could easily do with limited ice. It was just eggs, butter, salt, pepper, and proper cooking. The cooking being the part of the video that I thought would be useful. But I got back after the trip, started editing, and realized that, while the food was tasty, the video was incredibly boring and not worth the effort. With simplicity attempted and failed twice, I think that might be the end of the experiment. Peak number 9 is that my airport did a major flood prevention project 2 years ago, and the first half of the summer was the highest recorded rainfall in history. But we had no flooding. Mission accomplished. Pit number 7 was when the Badgers decided to dig holes in my landing strip, requiring me to get the tractor out to repair them. Probably 15 to 20 in total. Not a ton of work, but definitely enough damage to take a few hours to repair before someone broke their landing gear hitting a hole. Peak number 10, which seems like forever ago already, was flying to downstate Illinois and seeing the Eclipse. Having a plane and being able to go wherever weather permitted good viewing was an awesome luxury, and I was happy to take advantage of it. It's always awe-inspiring to see day turn into night, watch the lights come on, and feel everything cool off as the sun gets blocked for a few minutes. It's really easy to underestimate how, weird the whole thing really is, and equally easy to understand why so many religions have stories about these events. Last but definitely not least is peak number 11, when I got invited to work with the Tora pyro crew at the Wings Over Houston Air Show. I've been going to air shows for years and always thought the pyro was pretty cool, but I had no idea how any of it worked. And I was so outside the inner circle on that stuff that I didn't even know who to ask to learn more. So when the opportunity fell on my lap to come out, work the show with them, and cook for the team, I jumped at it. So that's all I have for you today. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming in 2025. So if you want to see those videos when they come out, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next year.